Here we go once again, folks. The biggest smartphone release of 2018 has arrived. And that can mean only one thing. The biggest tips and tricks video on the device has also arrived. More than 200 tips split into 7 timestamp sections to help you find exactly what you're looking for. I'm Rob Wilson, you're watching the Video Gadgets Journal, and this is the ultimate guide to the Samsung Galaxy S9. Let's kick this off with one very cool feature, turning a video into your lock screen. To do this, go to Gallery and select a video you have, and then tap on the 3 dots in the top right hand corner and set as wallpaper. Now you can have up to 15 seconds of any video as a wallpaper, but you can edit it if you want to. So I'm just going to trim this a little bit to make sure that my hand just comes into shot as the video is playing, and maybe bring it to about there as well. Tap done. And then when it's saved the video, you can set it as your wallpaper there. So apply. And now when I go to my lock screen, it should look something like this. Oh yeah. Something that has returned from the Galaxy S8 but has been enhanced for the Galaxy S9 is the always on display, which is basically always on even when the phone is locked, using a tiny little bit of battery. So if you wanted to turn that off, you go to settings and scroll down to lock screen and security, and then go to your always on display, and you can toggle it on or off there. If you decide to leave the always on feature on, of course, there are a couple of features that you might not be aware of. First of all, if you double tap on the clock, that brings up options to take it to the music player and other options if you have those turned on. It's similar to the actual lock screen where you can swipe left and right to get different things, but you can enhance that if you want to by going to settings, then lock screen and security, and scrolling all the way down to clock and face widgets. And here, if you go to face widgets, here's where you can add the music controller, today's schedule, and next alarm. I just had a music controller on in that case, but as I say, you could toggle them on if you want to. You can also decide where these clock face widgets appear by tapping on the where to show. Gives you the option for lock screen and always on display, or both. Now below the clock you do have notifications here which you can double tap on to jump straight to it. For example, there is a video notification here. Double tap that and it automatically takes me to the notification about video enhancing. And if you want to customize this clock, here's a way to do it. First of all, go to settings, and then as before go to security, and you want the always on display clock and face widgets this time. And if you go to clock style, you can change the clock style for both always on display and lock screen. In this example, I'm going to change the always on display clock to an image. So if I scroll over to this image here, I've already put in my VGJ logo, but I could change it if I wanted to. I could simply close it off, add a new one, go straight to the gallery, we'll choose the logo again, apply that. And then when we go back to the always on display, voila, there's the Video Gadgets Journal logo. If you don't have a suitable picture to add, you could add a animated GIF instead. It looks as if you can only choose pre-default ones though. We're going to go for a spinning flower here and see what that looks like. Oh, isn't that cute? Now you don't quite get the same flexibility with the lock screen clock face, but you can change it to various different options, such as this funky digital stacked one, or you could go with an analog one, and each of these you could also change the colour like this in the bottom right, and there's a different colour palette. So plenty of options there for changing the clock faces on both always on display and the lock screen. And one last thing to show you about the always on display and lock screen, you can add a personal message. Just type contact information and then type in your message. Decide whether or not you want it to appear on lock screen, always on, or both. And then you should have a message both on your always on display and on your lock screen. Hey ho, what do you know? And one final setting on the always on display, if you're finding that it's too dim or the auto brightness isn't up to scratch for what you're trying to do with always on display, you can go to the always on display setting, turn off auto brightness, and then adjust the notch here so it's permanently set to a level that you're more comfortable with. I tend to leave it on auto brightness though. You may have noticed in this tutorial that I can swipe quickly through my Galaxy S9 because I have no security set up, but you will want to do that for your device the best place to go is settings and then lock screen and security and start setting up these biometrics, whether it be face recognition, iris scanner, fingerprint scanner. These are all from the Galaxy S8, and if you want more information on how to set them up, check out my big Galaxy S8 tips and tricks video. The addition to the Galaxy S9 is the intelligence scan, where it tries to combine two sources of security, which is your face and iris scanner. And this just helps if you're wearing sunglasses or wearing a hat, that it still might be able to unlock your device and not struggle as much. So check these out. They all require various bits of setup, so it will take a while. But once you've got it set up, you should have a very secure Galaxy S9. Take a screenshot on your Galaxy S9, hold the power button and volume down button, but just before I demonstrate that, I want to suggest that you go to settings, advanced features, and make sure that the following smart capture option is set up, because when you take a screenshot it gives you extra options down here which very quickly disappear. So there's a screenshot. If I tap scroll capture now, what that's going to do is continue to take screenshots of this settings screen and stitch them all together, as you can see there. So with smart capture on, there's plenty more options to take advantage of, so make sure that you check them out and have it turned on. One final point on screenshots is that if you take a screenshot within a web application like Chrome, it stores the URL. So I took this screenshot of the BBC News, and now I have the option to go straight to the site. So if I tap on it, it's going to go into Chrome and load up that web page again. Very useful. The Galaxy S9 has some Dolby Atmos speakers. To use them, they're hidden away a little bit in the settings. The best place to go is swipe down to get the main settings from your notification bar, and then swipe to the left and you should see the option there. Now if you long press on either the word or the button, this will take you into more options where you can have it for auto, movies, music, voice, and apparently, and I'm saying this word for word, it transforms your listening experience with a moving audio that flows all around you. Bear in mind, this is speakers from a mobile phone, so take it with a pinch of salt. Try it though, you may enjoy the sound experience, but just use some headphones. And speaking of headphones, yes, the Galaxy S9 does include a headphone jack. I feel a need to tell everybody that every time I do a phone review now, because it's kind of like an exclusive feature. Headphone jack. Ooh. A far more fancy tool, however, is the dual audio mode that's found in Bluetooth. So if you go to the Bluetooth screen, you can long press from the Bluetooth icon in the notification panel, as you just saw there, 3 dots at the top, and then dual audio. This allows you to sync up more than one Bluetooth speaker, so maybe you want to put several speakers around the house, and it kind of acts as a bridging gap for different speakers. Your Bluetooth does need to be 4.1 or above, and this is from the Galaxy S8, but also you could share it with multiple headphones as well. Flip side of replicating audio to multiple devices, you can separate audio from different applications. To do this, go to settings, then sounds and vibrations, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you have a separate app sound here. Now, what this enables you to do is have your phone playing the sound from one application, for example YouTube, but then you could be Bluetoothing music to a Bluetooth speaker. So this requires a bit more of investigation and playing around with. I did a full tutorial on this on my Galaxy S8 video, so go check that out. It's well worth watching and of course listening to. And one more thing in sounds and vibrations, you do have sound quality and effects that brings up an equalizer, but as it says here, some sound effects are not supported when you have the Dolby Atmos setting enabled, as we do here. So something to consider depending on what speakers and features you want to use. To add a blue light filter to your Samsung Galaxy S9, scroll down to the settings in your notification panel and you have this blue light filter here. If I turn it on, you'll see the screen turn orange, and this is eliminating blue light from the spectrum, and it's supposed to help you adjust to natural light in the evenings and fall asleep, whereas with it off, this screen might keep you awake a little bit more. There are some additional functionality here. If you long press on the button, you can tell it to turn on now or schedule it with sunset and sunrise. So yeah, things to be played with there. Check it out. Okay, do you want to create a GIF of some moving images on screen? You can do that by using the edge panel to the right hand side if you've not adjusted it. So just swipe in from the edge of the screen and you'll see this option for animation. This brings up a box and I can drag this box around the screen wherever I want. So I'm going to try and place it here in the camera position of this YouTube video, which is of course mine. And what I want to do is record a certain part of the animation. So I'll let the video play. Let's see if I can get this right. So I've recorded that bit of the animation, as you can see. Now it's a GIF, and I can save it as a animation. Brilliant stuff. Might need to edit it a little bit though. And let's say I want to pin a static floating image to my screen. You can do this again through the Edge panel. So if I choose Pin to Screen, and let's just make a box here of the YouTube video that's going on. Press Pin to Screen. Now that's just taking a screenshot rather than the video still playing there. That's multitasking. We'll look at that in a bit more detail later on. But if I press the home button now, it skips out of the YouTube app, but I still have this pinned option here, and I can do a couple of things with it. I can make it bigger if I wanted to, or smaller, as you can see there. So yeah, a couple of options there for pinning images to the screen. And we might as well finish off these Edge panel options by looking at rectangle and oval screenshots. So you can just add a little bit of variety to anything you're trying to capture on screen with a little bit of shapeage like that. Now, I'm sure we'll all agree that the Galaxy S9 has a beautiful screen, but Samsung wants to enhance it even further. To do this, go to Settings and then Advanced Features, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we have a Video Enhancer here. And this apparently improves the vibrancy of videos. If I toggle it on, just makes it look a little nicer. And the more apps you download, such as Netflix, YouTube, all of those should use the Video Enhancer if it's turned on. Do you really notice any difference? Let me know in the comments below. Now, because of the unique screen size of the Samsung Galaxy S9, it will crop your videos in this letterbox mode. You can make it full screen if you want to by simply pinching out on the video, such as in YouTube, but bear in mind it's going to start cropping the top and the bottom as well. When you're playing a video, if you want to get back to the navigation controls of a device, just swipe in from the left or right, so now we can see the home screen button and return to our home screen. Now, who doesn't want a performance mode on a monster device? To do that, go to Settings, then scroll down to Device Maintenance, and the option you want is Performance Mode. So you have different options here, and it tells you roughly what it's going to do with each of these performance changes. If I tap on High Performance, it gives you a bit more of a breakdown of what's going on here, and then you can apply it. Obviously, this is going to consume your battery. And one more thing in the device maintenance area, you have this Optimize Now button, which does this. Marvelous. While the Galaxy S9 does have a timeout feature on it, it also has something called Smart Stay, whereby if you're looking at the device, it shouldn't go onto a timeout. Now this depends on a couple of things, that you're holding the phone upright and steady, you're in a well lit place, and it's impossible to test on camera now, but turn it on and maybe it will stop the phone going into lock mode when you're using it but not looking at it. I should add that this doesn't apply to videos where it wouldn't go into the lock screen anyway, but yeah, something to test. I've never really noticed a difference, but who knows, you may do. Samsung's personal digital assistant Bixby has returned again. Woohoo! In order to access it from your home screen, swipe to the right. But if you don't want to do that, you can turn it off by pinching inwards, going to that panel and toggling it off. However, Samsung's not done with you there yet, because it has its own Bixby button, which is here just below the volume rocker. So if I press that button, it will bring up Bixby as well. But of course you can turn that off if you want to by tapping on the settings button here and toggling it off. So now I can't get to Bixby either by swiping or by pressing the Bixby button. However, it still works if I press and hold Bixby like this. Go away. And it always seems to do this. Why is it not working for me? I've probably not set it up. Good job. Another thing to be aware of is the Bixby briefing if you use the default alarm application. So go to your clock application, and then in alarms, if you type on the alarm itself, you'll see here a Bixby briefing which reads information such as the current time and weather when the alarm rings. So do you want that on or off? Here's where you can decide. There is an internal struggle going on with the Galaxy S9 because not only do you have Bixby, but if you press and hold the home button on the home screen or anywhere when the device is unlocked, you'll get the Google Assistant like that. Now, if you want to turn that off, you can go to Settings and then go to Advanced Features and scroll down to Device Assistant App. And then it's your Device Assistant App option here. So it's currently set to Enhance Google Services. You could turn it off if you want to, but it's your choice. What do you want to have? Bixby, Google Home, or none of them? Let's now take a brief look at the Game Launcher function. To turn it on, go to Settings and then Advanced Features, followed by Games, and toggle on the Game Launcher. Now, if you've got through all the terms and conditions, you should have a Game Launcher option here, and it will show you the games that you currently have on your device, but also you've got some shortcuts here to change the performance of your device. If you want to put it into a high game mode or change it to high performance, it's up to you. Now, once you launch a game, you'll notice that your nav bar will disappear, but if you bring it back up, you've got options here to do things like no alerts for the duration of playing the game. You can do a screen recording, an auto brightness lock. There's all sorts of functions there to check out. Some apps will go into a pop-up mode when you press a home button. For example, with Google Maps, because I put in some directions and it's assuming I want to go somewhere, so I may want to keep this information on screen. When I press the home button, it goes into a pop-up mode here. I can drag it down to hide, or I can increase it again to look at it. So yeah, just something to bear in mind. A couple of applications do that, and you've just got to play about with them and see which ones work and which don't. Videos is another one where pop-up may occur. And the last nice feature we have here on the Galaxy S9 is Dual Account. Go to Settings and then Advanced Features, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see this one called Dual Messenger. So you could effectively create two Facebook accounts if you need to log into two for whatever reason, and there will be other social media platform applications that can do this, and it just allows you to use two separate accounts for the same application. Let's start our navigation tutorial with the navigation bar. In order to make changes to this, go to Settings, then you want Display, and scroll down until you see the navigation bar settings. Now, what you can do here is change the colour of a navigation bar using these colours here. What you can also do is show and hide the navigation bar. Now, if I toggle this off, you'll notice this dot disappears, so that means it's fixed and permanent. However, if I toggle this on and then double tap this button, now the navigation bar disappears. In order to get it back, I would have to swipe up from the bottom of the screen, and then to keep it persistent, I would have to double tap on the dot again, like so. Also, at the bottom here, we have button layout. We can switch the recent and back buttons like so. And finally, when the screen is locked and I press the home button, that brings up the lock screen. But if you wanted to jump straight into your Galaxy S9, you could toggle on Unlock with Home button. So now, when I am on the Always On display and press and hold the home button, that automatically jumps me into the device. Obviously, if you have security settings on, that may change things considerably. If you want to make changes to the Samsung default launcher, you can pinch inwards on the home screen and then you'll get options. You can do the same thing as well by pressing and holding on the home button down here. Now, you may be wondering, where is your app drawer for the rest of your applications on your Galaxy S9? There is no app icon to begin with. Instead, on your home screen, simply swipe up on any part of the screen to show the rest of your applications. If you swipe down, you'll also see exactly the same thing unless you start to change the settings. In order to do this, go to your home screen settings by bringing up the customization options and then going to home screen settings. The first toggle here, apps button, if you tap that and toggle it on, then you'll be able to have an apps button in your dock. And then secondly, if you turn on quick open notification panel, this will change the swipe down action. So let's go back to our home screen. You can now see that you have your app drawer button there to get to your apps. And then if I swipe down, instead of bringing up the app drawer, it brings down my notifications. If you wanted another way to access your notifications, go to Settings and then choose Advanced Features and make sure that finger gestures is on. And this is going to use the finger sensor on the back of your device to bring it down your notifications. So just to confirm where that is, that's your finger sensor there. And so with any luck, if I go back to the home screen and then swipe down with my finger on the sensor at the back, there you are, it comes down, and then I can swipe up to get rid of my notifications. Doesn't work quite that well, it's a bit clunky that. If you wanted to change that to something else, go again to finger sensor gestures, and instead you could have Samsung Pay if you set that up. If you want to display your home screen in landscape mode, you can do that. We need to go once again to the home screen settings, and the option here is portrait mode only. Turn that off, and now when you tilt your device, the home screen is going to tilt with you, just like that. Doesn't look fantastic, I must admit, but if there is a need for it, you can do it. Application badge icons can show you how many notifications you've got from a single application, but it's been improved in recent times, and now you can long press on an application to get a sneak peek at what those notifications are, as you can see there. Now, if you wanted to adjust the settings of these application badge icons, go to settings, notifications, then app icon badges. You can toggle it off, or you can show it differently. So at the moment we have it with show numbers, or you could just have a simple dot next to your application for your notifications. Okay, Galaxy S9, big screen, can you use it with one hand? That might be tough unless you use the dedicated feature. To turn that on, go to settings, advanced features, and then one-handed mode, toggle that on, and then this is how it works. Swipe diagonally inwards from either of the bottom corners like so, and that will reduce the screen size to around about half. So now in one hand I can definitely fit everything into the screen with just a single thumb. You can move it from right to left-handed using the arrow there, and if you want to go back to normal mode, just tap anywhere off the current screen. Now let's bring it back into one-handed mode for one last thing, which I want to show you, which is you can change it from a gesture to the home button by going to the one-handed mode settings. So now, if you're on full screen and I triple tap the home button, that puts it into one-handed mode. So choose whether you want to swipe or use the button. Multitasking on a Galaxy S9, where do we start with that? Settings, obviously. You want to go to advanced features and then multi-window, and make sure both of these options are toggled on to begin with. Right, let's do some multitasking. So if we open the internet application and then I swipe down from the top left hand corner, this will create a window out of the application. So now it's a floating browser. But what if I wanted to have two applications on at the same time in multitasking? If I go to recents and then load up the settings, for example, I also have the floating application still here, but I can drag that to the top, and now the top half of the screen goes blue, and this will create a multitasking session. An alternative way of doing it is going to your recent lists, then with one application you tap the multitasking button here, and so we have a second application that we can open at the bottom here, so let's choose the gallery. So again we have two multitasking applications open. So with two applications open, you have this blue and black bar in the middle. It could change depending on what the applications are. You can resize like this to make one application larger than the other, and then if you tap on the bar you'll get several options. Some of those include flipping the applications around or turning one of them into a floating window like we had previously. Again, drag that up to the top to turn that once again into multitasking. And a final option here is you can turn these two applications into an icon on your home screen, so you can quickly open both of these applications in multitasking. So if I press that button there, it's now created a pair icon on the home screen. So if I go to my home screen now, we have the gallery and Internet Explorer as two applications. I'll close down current multitasking so it's completely off now, but if I tap here, it launches both of those applications in multitasking. Very nice stuff. Another way to start multitasking would be to have an application open, such as a gallery, and then long pressing on recent buttons, so that splits my multitasking into two. So now we've got the internet running at the bottom. If I press the home button, that will take me back to the home screen, but you can still see that multitasking is running in the background. To go back to it, tap on the recents button, and then to exit out of multitasking again, press and hold the recents button like that to go back to my original gallery application. Have you noticed this little grey notch here? That's for the Edge applications. So if I swipe in, and you can do this anywhere on your Galaxy S9, it doesn't just have to be the home screen, you'll bring up options such as applications, you've also got contacts, and you've also got these smart select options which I've shown you earlier with doing GIF animations and taking screenshots. However, you can do a lot of modification here. Tap on the settings icon and then you can add all sorts of extra stuff, including device maintenance. That might be one to use. You can download more of them as well, and you can edit the edge panel by going to the dots at the top here and going to edge panel handle. Now here you can switch it from right to left, so let's put it on the left hand side there if I wanted to. I can bring it up and down the edge. I can make it bigger or smaller, and if I know where it is, I can make it completely transparent so that now I know where the edge screen is, but it doesn't interrupt the screen flow. So lots of stuff here with the edge panel if you want to use it. Of course, if you don't want to use it, you could turn it off right there. And then if you need to know how to get it back, go to settings, display, and scroll down until you see edge screen, and then you can toggle it back on. To activate the camera on the Samsung Galaxy S9, even if it's locked, simply double tap on the power button. Now if that feature doesn't work, go to the settings in the camera and scroll down until you see the following option, which is called Quick Launch. Toggle it on if you want to use that, or toggle it off if you prefer not to use the power button to get to the camera. Let's have a look at some simple camera shooting modes first. Obviously, if you just tap the shutter button, that will take a single picture. You can do the same thing with the volume rocker as well. If I press the volume rocker, that takes a picture. But you can change this setting if you want to. If you scroll down to the very bottom of the options, you have the press volume key 2. Currently it's set to take pictures, but you can change it to record video instead, zoom, or just use it as system volume. To take a rapid sequence of shots, otherwise known as burst mode, hold down the shutter button like so. When you look at burst mode shots in the photo gallery, there are a couple of things you can do with them. For example, you can see how many photos I've taken here, and if I tap on that, it will show me all the pictures. I can tap on each one individually, and if I wanted to save one of these as a picture, I tap on Save Image. But what you can also do is animate this burst mode if I want to by tapping on the 3 dots in the top right hand corner and then tapping Create GIF, and there you have a quickly made animation from your burst mode shot. By default, the camera will auto-focus on whatever object it thinks you want to focus on, but you can tap on screen to focus on something else. For example, if I tap on this object in the foreground, as you can see, it slightly refocuses. I tap on the object in the background and again it slightly refocuses. When you tap on the screen to focus, you'll also see the exposure meter down here, and you can drag that up and down to change the exposure level manually. You can pinch to zoom on screen like so, or alternatively you can use the shutter button by pressing and sliding, and again this acts as a zoom option. If you want to force your camera to take pictures in high dynamic range instead of auto, which is a default, you can go to settings and then go to HDR rich tone. It's currently set to auto, but obviously if you set it to on, then it will show you in the top right hand corner that it's always on. And just in case you need to know where the flash setting is, it's right here in the middle. 3 options: auto, off, or on, and we're going to set it to auto. Now watch what happens when I remove this Android doll from the camera and then put it back in. You will notice that it's slightly shifting the focus and the exposure. If you want to fix both focus and exposure, press and hold on the object until you get this yellow dot that says AF AE exposure. Now when I remove something, it's not going to try and adjust the focus or the exposure, it's going to fix it in that position. To turn that off, simply tap anywhere else on screen. As an alternative to exposure and focus lock, you can turn on focus tracking. To do this, go to settings and then turn on tracking AF. Now when I tap on this object here, the camera is going to try and focus on this object no matter where it is in the field of vision. So I can bring it towards the camera, I can take it further away, and the focus is trying to track this image as it moves. Now at the moment, as you can see, the camera image is only taking up about 2/3 of the screen. If you wanted to go into full screen mode, there is a button here. It doesn't actually change the resolution of the image at all, but it just gives you the whole of your wonderful Galaxy S9 screen to take the shot. And obviously you can toggle that on or off using the same button. Let's have a look at the camera modes now. You can swipe up or down to switch from the rear facing camera to the front facing camera. Obviously selfie mode. Hello! Swipe again to change it back to the rear facing camera, and then you can swipe left or right to choose the different modes, of which there are absolutely plenty in the Galaxy S9. I'm going to start looking at them in more detail right now. Let's start with a very basic demonstration of super slow-mo. This records at 720p, 960 frames a second when it detects movement in this box. So let's put my finger and thumb in there, and I'm going to click my finger and thumb. I'll start the recording. And then I clicked my finger and thumb and it should have recorded that as slow-mo. So I'll stop the recording, go to my gallery, and now this is playing. And as you can see, it moved into super slow-mo when I clicked my thumbs. Now, if you'd rather control when the super slow-mo activates, you can switch from auto to manual. So now I'm going to start the recording. And what I have to do is, it's not currently doing slow-mo, but if I tap the activate slow-mo button here, that's now going to do slow-mo for a short amount of time. So that's how you would record manually if you want to capture a specific point of slow motion. Now, another cool thing about these slow motion clips is that there's 3 different modes. To access it, tap on the slow motion video and then swipe up to get the details of it, and it will show the super slow-mo clip. So here we have a simple loop, or we can put it in reverse, and finally you have the swing option. There's also a couple of video editing options with slow motion videos. If you tap on it, it will start playing some music. You can turn it off by tapping on the music icon down there. And you can also clip it and do other things with the slow motion options if you wish to. Okay, the next weird and wonderful thing is AR emoji, where it tries to create a 3D image of you. To do this, go to the AR emoji setting, then tap on create emoji, and then it goes to selfie mode. So now I have to get a picture of myself. So I'm just going to look as silly as possible with a smile, lips closed. And once I've done that, the Galaxy S9 should start running through its AR mode once I select Mail and do Next. So as you can see now, it's creating my emoji, and it's going to look like a very generic bald person like that with a very silly smile. Now there's a couple of options here. I could change the skin tone if I want to, and then you can customize it with different clothes, and I can even give myself hair and all sorts of other things if I really wanted to, because I decided that I need some hair back on my head. Anyway, that's a brief run through of emojis. So give it a try and turn yourself into a cartoon character. When you've created your AR emoji, it's going to take a bazillion GIFs of you in your AR emoji pose. So if I just back out of that image, you can see all of those images it's just taken from that one example of the AR emoji picture that I took. And if you want to turn yourself into the AR emoji, let's switch to selfie mode and then put myself in screen. So now here I am talking to the camera with my AR emoji. Isn't that wonderful? You'll probably use it once and then never use it again. But there we are, have a play, see what you think, and is it any better than the iPhone 10 emojis that are available there? Let us know in the comments below. Now, if you don't want to go down the route of creating your own emoji, there are preset ones. For example, if I tap on this face here and choose that option, it's going to make an absolute mockery of my face, and as I change my facial expressions, stuff like this is going to happen. How amusing. Similar to the portrait mode on iPhones, the Galaxy S9 has selfie focus. To try and demonstrate this, this is currently selfie mode, and you can see that everything around me is in focus, including the microphone here. But if I go to selfie focus mode, what that should do is put my face in focus and everything else blurred around it. Obviously these are ideal conditions, but it should look much better when you're out in the field and take some nice portrait shots like this. The wide selfie mode makes a return whereby it can try and attempt to do a landscape shot in selfie mode. So if I press the shutter and then tilt the camera to cover each of the sides of the image, that should give me a nice wide shot which was in selfie mode. Another huge addition to the Samsung Galaxy S9 is the ability to manually switch the aperture. To do this, you have to go to the Pro mode of your camera, then tap on the aperture setting here to the left, and then tap on this number, and that will manually switch the aperture between 1.5 and 2.4, and this helps determine how much light comes into the camera, and you may benefit from better shots during low light scenes. Obviously this is for pro users of cameras who kind of know what they're doing, and to be honest I haven't got a clue, so use it at your own risk to get the pictures that you want. Selective focus allows you to exaggerate blur more in images. For example, this was a picture I took earlier, and the option comes up when you take the picture in selective focus to adjust the background blur. So now what we can do is have far focus, so that will take this object out of focus and put the King Android in focus. Near focus does the opposite, and then if you want focus on both objects you can do the pan focus there. Again, not ideal situation, so you will have to test this for yourself to see how it works. Once you have a new image that you're happy with, you can save that as a brand new image. If you want to record the moments immediately before and after taking a shot, go to Settings and then scroll down to Motion Photo. Now when you take a picture like this, what that will do is in the gallery you can have a play motion photo, so it should show me placing the King Droid in position and then the picture being taken. Now there are an abundance of editing options for pictures, but what I wanted to show you in particular is spot focus. In order to get to it, bring up a picture, 3 dots at the top, and then open in photo editor mode, then go to tone followed by spot color. So that makes it a grayscale picture, but then you can just drag on the screen and select a color that you want. So I'm going to select red here, and as you can see it just paints back in one color, which is red. I'd still need to mess about with this because there is a bit of a red tone at the top here, but it's one of the more interesting new features when you're editing photos. But obviously play around with the features and see what suits you. Another cool feature you might want to consider is setting one of your slow-mo videos as a lock screen. For example, I have 1 second here of the tap running from my previous recording. What I can do now is tap on the 3 dots at the top, set as wallpaper, and confirm that through the setting there. So now, when I go to my lock screen, I've got this rather crude slow-mo motion there, but I'm sure you can do a lot better than me. But give it a try and see what you can do with slow-mo videos and turning them into lock screen wallpapers. If you want to add a timer to your camera pictures, you can certainly do that. Go to settings, and then for each of the rear camera and the front camera there is a timer, so do bear that in mind. Double settings for the timer. Tap on it, you can choose between 2, 5 and 10 seconds, and also you can turn on take 3 shots so that you get multiple shots to get the right one when you're setting the timer. To start recording video, you can simply tap on the record button here, but you must bear something in mind. The framing for any picture on screen is for the camera, not for the video. To set the framing for a video before you start doing a video, press and hold the record button, so now you can see that that question mark is out of sight on the video. If I move my thumb away from the record button and let go, that will not do a recording, it goes back to the camera. So as you can see, the question mark is there again, so do bear this in mind. If you want to use the video, you might want to set up the framing first before starting a recording, because if you tap on the record button, it starts a recording and the question mark is no longer there. Also, when the video starts recording, you can take pictures by tapping on the camera button to the right. Let's have a look at the camera and video resolution now. Bear in mind, because you have a front-facing and rear-facing camera, you're changing the resolution for whatever camera you want to use. So rear camera, picture size, video size; front-facing camera, picture size and video size. Bear that in mind, you're not changing everything when you change one resolution. As for the resolution you can have, it starts at 12 megapixels for the rear facing camera, but that is a boxy 4:3 image. If you wanted more landscape wide shots, you need to go to 16:9. 9 megapixels, still a very high quality. As for the front facing camera, if you want to go for landscape shots, that's going to 6 megapixels, but again, it's still a very high, good quality pictures. Video size on the rear facing camera starts at 1920x1080, but goes all the way up to Ultra HD 4K 60 frames per second. As for the front facing camera, that starts at 1920x1080, but that goes up to Quad HD. And one final thing, you can change the video efficiency by adding this notch here, and it makes it a more efficient video format to save space. So check that out if you want to use it. A couple of important notes about the video size. Depending on which one you use, if it's Ultra HD for example, 60 frames per second, you may not have access to features such as tracking AF and video effects, and also image stabilization may be lost depending on what resolution you have. If I go up to 4K here and then try and go down to the option for video stabilization. As you can see, it's highlighted off. So if I change my video resolution to something a little more digestible, such as full HD, and then go back to the video stabilization, you can now see that it's switched on, but I can turn it off if I want to. So read the instructions within the resolution pages just to check what features you may lose if you need to use them. If you would prefer to put this shutter button anywhere you would like on screen, go to settings, scroll down to the very bottom, and you have a floating camera button here. Toggle that on, and now you should find an additional shutter button which you can drag around the screen and place it wherever it's convenient for you when taking pictures. You can add voice controls to your camera if you want to by going to settings, scrolling down to the bottom, toggling on voice control, and you can use any of these commands to take a picture or record video. For example, smile, record video, and there you go. If you want to add some grid lines to your camera, again go into the settings and scroll towards the bottom of the options, and you should find grid lines here. Two options, 3x3 and square. We'll do 3x3, and this just helps you align your pictures more for lower thirds and that sort of thing. So yeah, I definitely have it on when I'm taking pictures. Options now for how you save pictures. The first is the one for saving pictures as previewed. So saving a picture you take as shown in a preview, not as a flipped image. You will want to toggle it on if you want to. And the second one is review pictures. So when you take a picture, it automatically goes to the gallery to show you the picture that you've just taken, so that you would then have to back out to go to the camera. Personal preference here whether you want to turn those two features on or not. I said earlier, if you press and hold the shutter button, that does a burst mode, but you can change the function of that if you want to. Go to settings, scroll all the way down and hold camera button to take burst shot, tap on that, and you can change it to just taking a picture or creating an animated GIF rather than burst mode. Now for some unique ways to take pictures with the front facing camera. First of all, you need to enable these options. Go to settings and then shooting methods. You can tap the screen, show your palm, or tap the heart rate sensor at the back of the phone to take pictures. I've turned them all on. Let's test them and see how well they work. First of all, tap screen. Yeah, that seems to work fine. Now we are going to try raising my palm to take a picture. Yeah, that seemed to work okay as well. And then the heart rate sensor is this thing here, which is a little difficult to find when you're trying to take a picture, but here we go. Yeah, it kind of worked after 2 clicks, but a bit more difficult. So if any of those take your fancy, try them. Let us know how you find using them in the comments below. There are a monster number of features in the gallery, so we'll just look at a few of them. First of all, if you want to change the size of the thumbnails, you can pinch to zoom in or out to make these thumbnails bigger or smaller. There are several playback options with videos. For example, you can swipe left and right to scrub the video to the end and the beginning. If you are watching a video, you can swipe up and down on the right hand side of the screen to change the volume, swipe up and down on the left hand side to change the brightness, and finally, when you are playing a video, if you see an option here in the top, you can take a framed picture of what was on the video at that point. I mentioned briefly earlier, one option with pictures is to swipe up when you're on the actual image, and this will give you all the data background on when the picture was taken, where it's been stored to, the resolution, all sorts of interesting stuff to look at when you have an image that you want to look at in more detail. Bixby has invaded the camera as well. It can scan objects and tell you what they are. Sometimes. Let's give it a go. Yep, that actually works. I'm impressed. It can also apparently live translate text. Let's give it a try. It worked in the end. Camera enthusiasts will be delighted to hear that you can save the rear facing pictures in RAW mode. To do this, go to settings, then picture size, and then toggle on save RAW and JPEG files. This only saves the RAW file in Pro mode, so do bear that in mind when you're taking pictures. If you want to streamline your camera experience and get rid of all the modes that you don't use, you can do this by going to settings and then scrolling down to the section called Common. So top option, Edit Camera Modes. If I go to Rear Facing Camera, I can change the order of each of these camera modes or simply turn them off if I want to. For example, if I'm not going to use AR emoji mode anymore, let's tick it off and then go back to the camera, and now you should find that it's disappeared from my options. We go from super slow-mo straight to hyperlapse. You can also do that for the front-facing camera options as well. And finally, if you've made an absolute mess of your camera settings like I probably have done here going through this tutorial, go to Settings, scroll all the way to the bottom and you have Reset Settings here, and that should bring everything back to its factory default settings. Let's have a look at the notification panel now, because there is a lot to get through. First of all, to bring down your notifications, swipe down from the top of the screen. If you want to get all of your settings, swipe down again. However, if you want to get to settings immediately, you can use 2 fingers from the top of the screen to do that. Now, when you bring your notifications down, you have these 6 favorite settings, but you can reorder these if you want to. Bring all of the settings up and then tap on the 3 dots in the top right and go to button order. And now what you can do is long press on any of these icons and then drag them around and rearrange them. So we'll put battery power at the top, let's bring in flight mode, and then tap done, so that now when I bring up the notifications, these quick settings are being rearranged with the flight mode and the battery in, but you can rearrange them as you please. There are tons of settings in this notifications setting panel, so much so that you can swipe to the left and bring up even more settings. However, if you want to try and arrange this a bit more sensibly, you can tap on the 3 dots, then go to button grid and increase the size of the application. So we'll go to 5x3, and now we've got even more on this first page, but of course you still have to swipe to the left for whatever's left. If you wanted to add the brightness slider to this section of your notifications, bring down the settings, then on the brightness section tap the chevron, go to show control on top, and so now when I do a single swipe down, we've got the brightness settings just under these quick settings here. Now, many of these settings actually have triple functions, if you can believe it. For example, a flashlight, I can tap on the icon to turn it on, I can tap on the word flashlight to bring up the brightness level, which is incredible in itself, and then for something like the icon for Wi-Fi, I can either press on the words to go into a mini Wi-Fi setup screen, or long press on the icon to jump straight to the more comprehensive settings in the settings area of the device. And then when I back out, this is within the settings area of the Galaxy S9. So lots of options here from all of these different settings. Try practicing tapping the icon, tapping on the words, and then long pressing on the icon itself to see where it takes you. Now let's have a look at the notifications themselves. You can preview them by tapping on the chevron. So there we are, we get a preview of the Video Gadgets Journal logo, or I can swipe down on a notification like so. When you have more than one notification from an application, they will be stacked. For example, I currently have 2 notifications from the Samsung Internet, and I can expand them to see them in a bit more detail like that. Once you've finished looking at multiple notifications from an app, you can collapse it again, and if you swipe on any notification, what you can do here is add a reminder. So let's say I want to be reminded by this notification again in, say, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, you can set it there. Or you can jump to the notification settings for this particular app and decide whether you want the slow motion editor to send me notifications, turn them on or off, adjust the app icons, and all sorts of options there for you to mess about with. You can of course dismiss singular notifications by just swiping them away like so, or if you want to clear the whole lot, you can tap the clear button down there. And also note, as you go through your notifications, it will show you mini icons down here to let you know what notifications you have left. So it looks like I have one from the Samsung Internet Explorer and Google Play. If I scroll down, you can see those icons disappearing as the notifications appear on screen. Now, if you feel as if notifications are causing a problem and you need to sort them out wholesale, go to notification settings at the bottom here, and this will allow you to adjust pretty much everything. So you can choose which applications actually send you notifications. I can tap on an individual one and then make changes there. You can also tap on lock screen to show whether it displays the content, hides the content, so all sorts of options there. And if you go to the top here, we have app icon badges. So this shows you whether the icon on the home screen shows a number for how many notifications you've got, or whether you just want to show it as a notch. All sorts of extra information there. So go to notification settings, have a play about, and make sure it's tailored to your preferences. You also have to bear in mind that notifications show on your always on display, and on your lock screen, so some people might be able to see these when you don't want to, when you're not using your device. To change these settings, go to Settings and find Lock Screen and Security. Scroll down to where we have notifications here, and you can turn off the whole lot of notifications when you're on the lock screen if you want to, but there's also more additions here. You can hide the content, so you know a notification has come from an application but not what the content is. So plenty of things to look at here if you want to include notification security when your screen is locked. If you want an application to notify you even though you're in Do Not Disturb mode, the best way to do this is to bring up the settings for the notification, and at the bottom here we have a Do Not Disturb custom exception. So if I tap that, it's going to ignore the Do Not Disturb mode and still send me notifications when I'm in that mode. Another quick tip here for modifying your notifications. I said you can slide to the right or left to get the settings, but you could also long press on the notification as well to bring up whether or not you want notifications from the application, or tap on details to go into even more notifications. And on the maps, there is a lot of different notifications you can turn on or off. There is a lot to take in with app notifications, and if you make a mess of things and you're not happy and you want to just start over again, you can do so by going to Settings, then Apps, 3 dots at the top, and then you've got this Reset App Preferences, which will reset how your notifications work. But just bear in mind, it will also reset other things in your application, so use as a last resort. Now, when you get notifications, you can set up the device so it has a fancy outline effect of lights. To set this up, go to Settings, then Display, and scroll down to the Edge Screen option. But what you actually want to do is look at Edge Lighting. Tap here, and there is a cavalcade of options. Let's look at them now. So obviously you have the main option to turn it on or off. There are instructions here telling you how it works when a screen is on and when a screen is off, and whether you want to have edge lighting with the screen on, off, or always. Another thing to point out is in the top right here, tap the 3 dots, quick reply, and this gives you options on how to respond to alerts coming in when you've got the phone facing down and you see the edge lighting. You can hold onto the heart rate sensor to give a quick custom reply. And finally, and probably the biggest thing here, is the edge lighting style, where you can go into all sorts of options to change the effects. Now, we could go up through this endlessly and it will give you all sorts of fancy things going on, and change the width, and yeah, you name it, it can do it on here. Just play around with it and see what preferences take your fancy. And at the end here we have manage notifications, so you can tell the system which applications you want to apply edge lighting to if you don't turn them all on like that. If you use a screen protector on your Samsung Galaxy S9 and you're finding that all your inputs are not registered, you can up the touch sensitivity by going to Settings, Advanced Features, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you have a touch sensitivity here. Plenty of interesting settings in the display options. First of all, auto brightness. It's not as simple as what you might think. Inside of the auto brightness screen, you have pattern usage. So it tries to adjust to your auto brightness preferences, whatever that means. You can reset it here so it starts learning again if the brightness is sometimes a bit weird on your device. One of the things I like about Galaxy S devices is the ability to adjust the screen size of some icons here at the top like that. You can also change the font size. I like to have it a little larger, it must be said. And you can also change your font style if you want to here. As for screen resolution, by default it's set at the midpoint, but if you wanted to try and conserve a bit of battery, you could put it down to HD+. Less pixels means less battery usage, but if you want performance, the whole hog, super sharp images, you can go right up to WQHD+. Going further down the list, if you look at full screen apps, this is because the Samsung Galaxy S9 has a slightly odd aspect ratio for a mobile device screen, and some apps had letterboxing on. Not quite as prevalent now since the previous Galaxy S8, but just in case you need to adjust any of the settings, you can swipe through here and see which ones might need to be changed, such as the ones down at the bottom here, but not so much of a big issue these days. I've always loved the LED indicator on the Galaxy S devices for notifications. That remains, but you can toggle it on or off there. And the status bar here, which is obviously this section here, you can toggle it so that it only shows 3 notifications, or all of them as you can see here, until it fills up the top of the bar. And the battery percentage indicator is controlled here as well. The navigation bar we've already looked at in the Galaxy S9 features. Another battery saving option is the screen timeout, so you can set it to 30 seconds, 15 seconds, however long you're not using the device, that's the time it takes before the screen times out and locks your device. And here's another one of these funky Samsung Galaxy S features, block accidental touches. This will try and prevent you calling somebody when your phone is unlocked accidentally in your pocket. Give that a try, see if it works. And finally, we have the screensaver option here. So when your screen is charging, you can maybe set it up to show colors, photo frame, whatever takes your fancy. When you use the volume rocker on your device, it will just bring up the main ringtone volume, but tap the chevron there to bring up all sorts of options for different volumes, such as media, notifications. It can all be adjusted here, as well as using volume keys for media as well. So if I toggle that on, now when I use the volume keys, it's changing the media volume instead of ringtones. There are, of course, a lot more settings you can change in sound and vibrations of your device by going to settings and sound and vibration. You have vibrate while ringing, in case you want to have the phone shaking about as there is a ringtone coming up. You can also change the volumes here as well, as we just saw with the volume rocker. Vibration intensity, you can change that for different settings, whether it be notifications, incoming calls, vibration feedback, it's all there as well. You've also got all the tones and music you would want to play when you're getting alerts and incoming phone calls. Scroll down to the system settings. We have touch sounds here, so when you're pressing the back button selecting options, you might want some audio feedback there. We've also got vibration feedback for when you're tapping on the home button, the back button. That gives you extra haptic feedback from the device if you're into that sort of thing. And then with the keyboard sounds, if you're tapping on the keyboard, you might want sounds at playing, just a little click noise for the keyboard, and gives you a sort of a better feel, more in touch with the device. All of these are certainly preferential for each individual, so have a look through each setting and see which ones you want to turn on or off. If you want to get a snapshot of your storage currently, you can go to Device Management and then pick Storage, and this will just tell you how much space you've used versus how much is available, and general information about what's using all of your storage. But you can take this a lot further. Tap on the three dots in the top right and go to Storage Settings, and this will give you more of a breakdown of what's using your files, and you can jump to each section. So if I tap on Photos and Videos, that will take me to the gallery. But if I also scroll down to the very bottom section where we have Files, this will bring up a file explorer where you can look in more detail at what's using all of your storage space. So a good place to start if you're filling up your Galaxy S9. Of course, one place where you can start clearing out some old storage which you don't need is the Clean Now button here, which just deletes unnecessary files, residual, advertising files, that sort of thing. So let's do that right now. Bing! Another option that might be available to you on device maintenance is device security, although this tends to disappear if you buy a phone from a company like Verizon or T-Mobile, where they include their own security. But this is an unlocked Galaxy S9, and it allows me to scan the phone for presumably viruses, malware, and it's supported by McAfee in this example. But yes, if it's not there, it's because your own tariff provider has decided to include their own security measures. Tapping on the memory will give you a RAM cleaner if you need to remove applications that are taking up too much of your performance. And here's me thinking task killers on Android devices were a bad thing. As before, the Samsung Galaxy S9 does support SD cards, and if you want to put storage into the SD card rather than onto your device, certain apps will allow that. To do that, go to Apps and then find an appropriate app. In this case, we're going to look at Photos. Then go to Storage, and if you can change storage to an SD card, you should have Storage Used and a button here which says Change, and then you can set it to either device memory or SD card. As I say, not all applications support this, so you may have to dig around in the app settings to find out whether they do or not. To keep your phone running nice and smoothly, you may want to try this. Scroll down to General Management, then go to Reset, and have a look at the Auto Restart option. This forces your phone to restart perhaps every evening, say for example 3 AM, and it just helps with if you've been having your phone on for a month at a time and you've just charged it whenever actually restarted it. This may help with any options that are maybe slowing down and things aren't quite right. So yeah, give it a try and see if you notice a better improvement in performance on your phone. And also in this area we have the options such as doing a reset the settings to default, and it could be a more extreme or less extreme and just reset network settings, or do a factory data reset if you're ready to get rid of your phone in a year's time for the Samsung Galaxy S10. To change your phone name when devices are searching for it, in Bluetooth for example, go down to About Phone, tap the edit button here and name it whatever you like. To have the most accurate battery reading, you'll want the battery percentage indicator on. To turn it on, if it's off, go to Settings, then Display, scroll down to Status Bar, and it's your second option here, Show Battery Percentage. The best place to start for general battery saving tips is to go to Settings and then Device Maintenance. First thing you can do is optimize your phone. That should hopefully get rid of any applications that aren't working properly, check things are running nicely, background apps, storage, that sort of thing. It might help you just put your device back up to 100% running order and improve battery performance. More specifically though, you'll definitely want to go to the battery screen, which shows you all sorts of information. First of all, you can tap on the battery usage here to give a breakdown of what applications and system functions are using your battery. Obviously I've not used a lot here, but the screen has used up a bit of memory there. Tap on the three dots here to go to some optimized battery usage options here, where you can start optimizing applications individually for some apps if they are taking up a lot of battery. A couple of options there as well. If I go back a couple of pages, we can look at the power saving options. So this is where it's going to make wholesale changes to your device. For example, if I put it onto mid, it tells me how that will change things. So it might limit the CPU, decrease brightness, but I can also change some of these options if I want to. And if you want to go on to full power battery saving mode and go to max, this will change the complete complexion of your Samsung Galaxy S9, make it into a much simplified device. But if you need that battery, then that's the best option for you. And finally, we have the save power option here, which will try and optimize any applications that might be using battery right now, like this. You'll also want to check this sleeping apps section every once in a while, because what this does is try and detect applications that are using battery in the background and then put them to sleep if the device thinks they're not worth having in the background. But that could mean that you don't get notifications from those particular applications. So if they come out of sleep mode when you reactivate the application, but for things where you want notifications in the background even though you're not looking at the app, that may be interesting to investigate. For example, Clash Royale, that tells me a lot of things about when the game's giving me updates on chess. So do I want the application to be asleep so it doesn't tell me that? Something that I will need to decide on. So yeah, it does try and put apps to sleep to save battery, but you might not want that. And this is where you can start to check things. So those with the sleeping apps, but just below that we can go to the unmonitored apps, where it will not put the application to sleep, like Samsung Gear for example, which is always talking to a watch if you have one connected. And you can also set applications that are always sleeping, so they never run in the background and they only work when you have the application open. In the settings, you could certainly try adjusting the media and volume controls. So I put it into vibrate mode, or I could put it into completely silent mode, which obviously saves a bit of battery, but you might not get notifications and sounds when you need them. You may also want to turn off those minor sounds and vibrations by going to settings and then sounds and vibrations. For example, I currently have turned on things like vibrate while ringing. You might want to turn that off. Touch sounds, also keyboard clicks and vibration feedback. All of those little things take a little bit of battery, and turning them all off may save a little bit of battery, but it's kind of a incremental thing. You've got to turn off a lot of these things to get any benefit from it for the battery. Your Samsung Galaxy S9 can also tell you when you think applications might be causing battery issues. To find this out, go to the three dots in the top right hand corner of the battery screen on device maintenance, advanced settings, and then notifications at the top here. And you can toggle on these different options, so it will give you advice about when unused applications are still being on after 3 days and now they're put into power saving mode. And then there's battery draining apps, it will notify you about them, and also unstable ones where they're having problems. And just a little further note on that, in the main device maintenance screen you can tap on this note up here and it will actually tell you when applications are crashing and if they're causing any issues, such as this push bullet one, which crashed 5 times for me for some reason, and that might be draining battery as well. Using the location settings on your device can take up a lot of battery. To adjust this, go to settings, then connections, and scroll down to location. It's currently set to high accuracy, but I can change that if I want to by tapping on location settings, and we've got this battery saving mode so that it uses Wi-Fi and mobile networks to estimate your location rather than being very precise, which uses more battery. By default, for some reason, NFC is turned on when you first purchase your Samsung Galaxy S9, as you can see with this icon there. I can't remember the last time I ever used this, so it might be using up a bit of battery. Make sure that's turned off. It has a beautiful bright screen. It has a lot of pixels, but that uses a lot of battery. Go to settings, display. The first thing you'll want to look at is a screen resolution, which you can take down to HD+ to save some battery. And also the auto brightness here, that will help with saving battery with turning it on. But also if you lower the brightness in general, as you can see, it goes right down, so the screen is almost unviewable in any sort of light. Unfortunately for these tutorials, I need to leave my brightness nice and high. We've talked a lot about this always on display already. That does use battery, and if you don't like it, then you should turn it off. To do that, go to settings and then scroll down to lock screen and security. And halfway down you'll have the always on display. You can have it on as a scheduled event, so obviously at night if you can't charge your device and you need to retain as much battery as possible, untick show always and then you can schedule it like that. Me personally, I don't like always on display, so I just turn it off, save the battery. The screen is of course the biggest battery hog, and if you're leaving the screen on when you stop using it but not locking it, then there's a screen timeout to determine when your screen turns off. So you want to try and put that as short as possible if you are a bit useless when it comes to forgetting to locking your device. It's in display, screen timeout, the shortest setting is 15 seconds. Because the Samsung Galaxy S9 uses a Super AMOLED display, if a pixel is black, it's not actually switched on, so having a black theme could save you some battery. To download themes, you want to pinch in and go to the theme section here. And what you can do is search for black themes. I've already done this, and one of the themes that I do like is the black matte one, but there's all sorts of black themes here, which as you can see have very dark backgrounds, and it also changes your settings as well. So let me just show you very quickly what that looks like. If I set the theme on here, which is matte black, the home screen is going to look quite a lot different. The icons are going to change. And yeah, this could potentially save you some battery, and I just like the darker look, to be honest. So here we are, more of a black wallpaper, and the icons have gone from white and black now, with a bit of colour in some of the icons. And if I go to the settings, as you can see, the background is now black with white text. So change a theme, it might save you some battery. And a charging tip to wrap off the battery saving section, make sure that you try and use the Galaxy S9 adaptive fast charging plug that comes with your device, and also make sure that you go to settings, device maintenance, battery, and then the three dots at the top, advanced settings, and have fast cable charging on. There are many launchers you can use on your Samsung Galaxy S9 with it being an Android device, but if you decide to stick with the default, let's have a look at a couple of things that you can do with the options here. If you want to pick up multiple applications at once, long press on one and then tap on select items, and now you can select as many as you want and then move them into the home screen, for example like this. So I can now hold, drag it to the top and drop them all at once. Boom. Now that's going to make a bit of a mess of your home screen, so let's delete all these. It just removes the applications, it doesn't uninstall the applications. If I again select several applications at once, but this time I can create a folder of them like so, and then what I can do with that folder is take it from the app drawer and drop it into my home screen like so. Now at the moment this folder doesn't have a name on it, so I could tap on it and then just tap up there where it says enter folder name to put something in. As simple as that. And if I want to change the folder colour, tap on the white dot and I can choose any colour in the spectrum if I want to here, like that. Done. So now we're going to have a slightly fluorescent lime green folder called Ho. Hey ho. The weather information here is actually a widget which I can resize. If I long press to pick it up, let go, it has a blue border on it, and then I can shrink it down if I want to. I could also move this widget to the right to create an entirely new home screen if I wanted to. So now we can swipe between applications, widgets, however you want to personalize your home screen. If I long press on the home button down here and then go to widgets, I can add even more widgets, of which there will be plenty on your device already, and you add more as you add new applications. So let's stick in a widget from Samsung Notes. So choose which one you want, and there we go. If you notice this push bullet icon here, it's a round icon and then it's rounded around the edges, and this is called rounded icons. To turn that off, go to settings, then display, and scroll down to the option called icon frames. So now if I put icons only and done, what that should do now on the home screen is, as you can see, we've got different shapes. The rounded icons here are because they're Samsung ones, but then this push bullet one is circular, and then that will change depending on what applications you have. To jump into a lot more home screen settings, long press on the home button just there. Home screen settings. You can change your layout so it's just applications rather than widgets and applications through the top option there. You've also got the ability to change the app drawer grid and the home screen grid. For example, let's go and change this to 5x6, so it will add more applications on the rows there if I want to. What other options do we have here? Let's take a look. App icon badges, we've already looked briefly at that, where it shows you the number of notifications that you have from an application. You can turn it off if you want to. When you install new applications, this toggle decides whether it puts a new icon on your home screen or just leaves it in the app drawer. And as we've seen already with the quick open notification panel, when that's toggled on, I can swipe down on any part of the screen to bring up my notifications. If you download a new home launcher, for example Nova Launcher, and then you find yourself stuck with Samsung Launcher and you need to switch between the two for whatever reason, it's hidden a little bit in the settings. So you go to settings, then apps, the three dots in the top right, and choose app defaults or default apps, and then go to home screen. So here you will choose what launcher you want, and then you can change that again if you're not happy with whatever launcher you're using at that period of time. When you bring up the lock screen, you may notice two applications here which are your lock screen shortcuts. To change them, go to settings and then lock screen and security. Scroll down towards the bottom and you should see a couple of options which are app shortcuts. So currently it's set to phone and camera, but if you tap on one of them, you can choose any application you have currently installed. Now, would you believe it, the Samsung Galaxy S9 is actually a mobile phone where you can call people, so we should have a look at some of those settings as well. We're going to go first to advanced features and look at a few options here. These include direct call. This is where you're looking at a contact on screen and you can put the phone to your ear and that will automatically start calling them. Next up is Smart Alert, whereby if you received phone calls and messages when you weren't looking at your phone and it was face down, and then you pick it up, it will automatically vibrate just to remind you of the calls that you missed. And we also have Easy Mute, whereby if you receive a call, you can mute it by putting your hand over the screen or putting the Galaxy S9 face down on a surface. We've also got the swipe to call or send message option here. If that's toggled on, when you're in your phone application or have contacts, if you swipe to the right, that allows you to quickly call the person, or swipe to the left to quickly message them. And finally, in advanced features, you have the send SOS message option, where if you press the power button 3 times, that will take a picture with the rear facing camera, the front facing camera, attach 5 seconds of audio and send it to an emergency contact. This does require some setup through this screen. The phone application itself does have some settings. To get to them, go to phone and then the 3 dots in the top right hand corner, tap there and go to settings. Some call settings that you might be interested in are quick decline messages. We have some defaults here, but you can create your own up here as well. We also have answering and ending calls. This allows you to change the settings using physical buttons, so you can answer calls using the volume up to answer calls. You can end calls with a power button, so things are checked there as well. There's also the option to do show calls in a pop-up, so rather than the phone going out of whatever application you're in and showing a full screen of the phone call coming in, it's a pop-up instead, so that might be useful if you're doing something very vital every time a call comes in. There's more options as well here, so check out all of them and see if any are required for you. You'll also want to check the same settings in messages as well. As before, it's the 3 dots in the top right hand corner, go to settings, and there's some options here to look at, and also we have quick responses. So as with the quick response to calls, you can set up some quick responses to messages as well. Lots of defaults there, and set up your own ones as well. If you're familiar with installing applications from outside of the App Store, you used to have to go to lock screen and security and find unknown sources, but that's changed now in the Galaxy S9. Instead, you need to go to Settings, then Apps, tap on the three dots in the top right hand corner, go to Special Access and then scroll all the way down to Install Unknown Apps. And it's now done on an individual app basis. So let's say you downloaded an application through Chrome, or you download an application and you wanted to install it from My Files. These are now defaulted to be allowed, but if you try to do it from, say, Facebook, it wouldn't allow you to do so. You'd have to go into Files and then install it. But you can change this on an individual basis, so I can tap on Chrome and allow from this source. And it seems a little interesting that now by default you can install applications from unknown sources. So switch there from Samsung on security, but that's where you need to find it if you need to install applications from outside of the App Store. Unlocking developer mode is still exactly the same method, however. Go to Settings, scroll down to the bottom and to About Phone, then go to Software Information and finally the build number. Start tapping on that and you should see a message saying you are close to unlocking the developer mode. So now I am a developer. Well done me. As for where this new option is, you'll find it just under the About Phone section. There's plenty of options here to start doing stuff. You make changes at your own risk. To unlock the Android Oreo secret, go to Settings, again About Phone, Software Information, and Android version. Tap on this a couple of times until an Oreo symbol appears, and then you need to long press, tap on it, that sort of thing, until you get to a new screen. And yeah, just keep playing on the screen until this happens, and then an octopus appears, and then you can swipe it, drag it around the screen. And finally, let's turn my Samsung Galaxy S9 into a mini computer with one of these, a USB converter. This does come with the Samsung Galaxy S9, and it allows you to plug USB devices into your phone. So, very simple test this one. We're going to plug a mouse into my Galaxy S9, this beast here. So now you should be able to see soon a mouse pointer. So there we are, and it works just by clicking. It also works as a back button with the right hand mouse there, and also the front button works there when you're on an Internet Explorer. Now this is a very basic test. You could plug in all sorts of USB devices to see if they work, and that includes flash drives if they're formatted in the right way. I've done a previous video on this on the Galaxy S8, so check that one out for a lot more fun to be had. But yeah, just consider using USB products in your Galaxy S9. And that's a wrap. Of course the Galaxy S9 is such a beast of a device, but it's impossible to cover absolutely everything. But if you thought this guide covered enough, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share with anyone who might find it useful. If you're new to the Video Gadgets Journal, I've done loads of ultimate guides like this in the past, so make sure to check out the playlist on screen now. And finally, I've always wondered if anyone actually gets to the end of these videos, so if you have, simply post this final line in the comments below. Enjoy the rest of your tech day. Bye for now.